Kobe, congratulations on your new book, The Mamba Mentality, being published globally. Would you introduce this book to all the Chinese fans and audience? Like, what really inspired you to make this book?
Well, the same thing that inspires me every day, which is just sharing the knowledge that I've learned over the course of 20 years, right, of playing. And what we've done with this book is take some of the images that were captured by Andy Bernstein, one of the greatest photographers of all time. And taking those images and then breaking down the game to the smallest detail, right? A lot of times we look at a picture and say, okay, it's a good picture, but you don't really get a chance to really look at it and say something can be learned from this photograph, which is what I did growing up. I used to look at pictures of Bird and Magic and Michael and then try to learn a particular move or what's happening here or what will happen here. And so that's what I did with this book. I took some of the images throughout my career and kind of walked you through the detail of that particular situation.
You won Oscar, Emmy Awards, and right now you have this new book. The Chinese fans, they joke a little bit. They saying maybe the next trophy you get is a Nobel Prize in literature. What do you think about that idea?
Well, I think it's important to understand is, even though I stopped playing basketball, the same attention to detail and focus that I had in playing basketball, I have in writing, I have in building the studio, right? So those things don't change. It seems like basketball and writing and building a studio have nothing to do with each other. It would seem that way, but it has everything to do with it, right? So I just changed discipline, but my focus is exactly the same.
If it's writing, because that's basically our job, is writing. Right now, Kobe's in this area. It's like, wow. Kobe wants to take over everything. That's how I feel. Still our job.
No, the thing about writing that I find fascinating is being able to tell a story. How do you put together a narrative that is compelling, that moves people emotionally? Right, and that was the goal for Dear Basketball. Is, how can I tell a story to the game, thanking the game, and then from that, you learn different structures. Right, I've been studying writing for 15 years, and you learn how to organize a plot, how to organize the ebbs and flows of the story, and it's something I've been practicing for a very, very long time. So 15
years,
yeah,
that's a long time.
Yeah.
Actually, I talked to Dan Goodman yesterday, and then he mentioned about the guy who was drawing the Dear Basketball knows nothing about basketball, but the way people feel about this Dear Basketball and all your productions feel like you want to tell people what is the dream about. How do you achieve those dreams? So when the people see those videos or the movies or the book, like those people who knows nothing about basketball or those young guys, what do they expect to take away from this book?
Well, here's the thing is, if we've done our jobs the right way, if I've written the book the right way, it means that people will take something different from it, right? Because you carry your own, it's like looking at a painting, right? When you look at a painting, you're carrying your own emotions, your own journey, your own story. And you're projecting that onto what it is that you're seeing or what it is that you're experiencing. So hopefully everybody will take something different from it that's personal to them. If everybody's getting the same thing, then we haven't done our jobs right, because that means what we've created hasn't transcended the art. It hasn't transcended the craft and hasn't become art. So that's what Dear Basketball, I'm probably most proud of with Dear Basketball, is that the story was just about basketball and a boy with a dream. But different people get different perspectives from it, and it's a joy to hear. Like I hear people say, oh, that film moved me because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, wow, I don't say it, but I'm thinking to myself, like, that wasn't even the intention. Like I wrote it for something completely different, but that's beautiful.
Yes, everyone can find something about themselves from that movie or the book or whatever, but you really want to let the people experience what you experience, but also find themselves at the end.
It's always about them, right? Because like the story itself is personal to me. This book is personal to me. It comes from my inner journey. you know, and I believe that if you're able to tap into your own truth, I think that will unlock the ability for others to find their own through that. Yeah.
You describe these books like a basketball Bible.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But would you just give this book to maybe the Lakers players to, you know, help them to maybe win the next championship?
Yeah, well, them as well as other athletes too. I mean, look, it's like I've just taken a lot of the information that I learned and I just distilled it into this book. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if players want to pick it up and read it and go through it in hopes that it may help them achieve a certain level, then I'm happy about that. But yeah, we definitely gifted a copy to all the Laker players.
Did they tell you that they read it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do they have to take notes? Yeah. Like they have to give you like a homework?
Well, no, not like that. But like, you know, like Kuz has reached out to me several times about it, and they're very open. I mean, he'll call and text and ask questions, and you know, it's just very curious. Which, you know, I was the same way as a kid. I was very curious. I used to call Michael all the time and ask him questions and stuff, and he was always very open. So I'm certainly the same way.
It's all about learning, right?
It's all about learning and teaching.
I know, because after I read this whole book, the key words pop in my brain is learning, because you're always trying to learn from everywhere, from your opponent, from yourself, and from the coach, like even the high school coach or your own experience. Yeah. So what is the new thing you're learning right now that you want to share with us?
Well, it's learning what emotions are. And what do they mean? What do they mean? And then how they affect the psyche, how do they affect the spirit, how do we struggle through certain emotions? You know, what does it mean to feel love? You know, what does it mean to feel suffering? You know, and because, you know, as people, our emotions drives us to make a lot of our decisions, right? And so sports is such an emotional thing. So through the content and the stories that we're bringing to the world, we're taking sports and we're infusing those with fantasy and magic, with the common thread being the power of emotion. How can we teach kids to be more emotionally aware? More emotionally aware. How can we teach them that, okay, you're feeling this pain, you're feeling this anxiety, don't run from it. If you run from it, if you try to ignore it, now that anxiety will consume you.
Come back bigger.
Exactly. How do you walk hand in hand with it? How do you accept it? Once you accept it, now you hold the power over it, right? So like little things like that, that we've just been asking a lot of questions about to try to figure out how to convey that in a beautiful way.
Kobe, I think it's so funny because when you were a player, they're so hard for the fans or the, you know, other people to see emotion from you. Right. Usually you try to hide everything behind, right? But right now, the things you're doing is want to, you know, let the emotion out, let the people feel emotion. Why is such an opposite way?
Well, the thing is, when I was playing, I understood the power of emotion, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing now, because it's such a powerful thing. But the most important part when you're performing is to have absence of emotion, right? So like you have all of these feelings, the doubt, the anger, the joy, all those things you're feeling throughout the course of a game from moment to moment even. But the key is to be in a good meditative state where you're accepting all of those things and those things are coming and going, right? So you're not being pulled in one direction by any one of those emotions, good or bad. You just are. And when you can have that absence, then that's when you have, you know, 81-point games and 63-point games. And that's when you feel like you're in a zone because you're just here and now. So you have to understand those emotions to be able to accept them and then let them go.
And manage those emotions and control those emotions.
Yeah, it's hard.
I know it's very hard. Because sometimes I feel like my own experience, you, no matter you like these things or you hate those things, it's very hard to control those emotions. And then those emotions, like you said, relate to those moves, the decision making.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes you can make a really good decision. Sometimes I made a lot of bad decisions, but the all like emotion drives me to the different moves that when I look back, oh, how dumb I did that thing, or how smart I did, like the squat down and the watch you. And that probably the smartest move.
It was great.
I know.
Great. You know, it's all part of our story, and I think that's the important thing is to have. We have to be self-forgiving. Right? You have to be self-forgiving. I mean, you know, we tend to forgive others a lot easier and quicker than we forgive ourselves, and it shouldn't be the case. You got to be self-forgiving as well.
Yeah, I should do that. I should listen to you. You know, because like I said, I follow you a long time, and then being your friends. But in fact, when you're a player, I would never thought you were becoming those like a wise philosopher now. Everybody want to like listen what you want to say, and they're waiting and they're listening. And then how are you surprised by yourself that you actually transfer from this athlete to this like a philosopher?
Yeah, I don't know when the heck that happened. I was kind of like, you know, if we went back in time and you told me at 21 years old that this is what I would be doing, and I'd be like, what? No, get out of here. No. But you know, I think I was very fortunate to have a lot of great mentors in my life that taught me a lot of things, and I think it's important to return the favor, you know, and I just try to share the knowledge that I have, and you know, hopefully, you know, it helps in one small way or another.
You know, Kobe, I don't want to mention your age because no matter what,
40. I love being 40.
Every culture is not good, you know.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
But you know, in Chinese, old Chinese saying that the 40s, I have to really follow this because I don't want to say it wrong. One should be no longer confused in their 40s. But for you, since when you started feeling that there's no doubt or confusion at all, that you can really do like the good decision and then make yourself just always on the right track. You just know it. Because a lot of time I ask other people around you, they said, you just always know. You know it. There's no doubt, no confusion at all. Why? Well, you're just 40.
Well, I think you can, you know, what I've been very fortunate is I've been able to find what it is that I love to do at a very early age, which was basketball. And there was no confusion for me in the sense of this is what I want to do. There's a lot of confusing things to get to that point, like small decisions on a daily basis, but the overall focus, there's no confusion on. And the same thing for me now. Building a studio is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. We're going to have books. We're going to have films. We're going to have TV shows. We're going to have theaters. We're going to do that. Right. And now everything that comes along the way are small decisions that we'll make some good ones. We'll make some bad ones. You know, we'll make better ones. We'll make worse ones. But there's no confusion on where we're going, and we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
The ultimate goal is always there, right?
Always. Always. That's the focus. It's like having that North Star, and that's where we're going. And now you may, you know, be pulled by a gust of wind one day, you know, and blown off course. I know. And then you got to figure out another way.
Come back.
Yeah. But that's just the fun of the journey.
You know, on the basketball court, the ultimate goal is always the championship. Yeah. But right now in the business world, there's no like the trophy over there or the stuff over there that you can really connect to those. Like you can really count with a score or trophy or whatever. Right. But how does it drive the more like a ambition or passion from you to have or set up the bigger blue point?
Well, it's putting the puzzle together that's the most fun. Like, for example, we have a fantasy novel coming out in March of next year, right? And we got to look at that and say, okay, the design of the book, what kind of materials do we want it to be? You know, what kind of page we want it to be, what kind of font do we want it to be? You know, all of those things play an essential part in the story, right? And so it's looking at the person here who is responsible for that and helping them do the best job they can, right? And that's for everything across the board, everything. It doesn't matter how small it is. The enjoyment that I get is challenging everybody here for whatever their job is, do it the best way you can, you know, and we don't compromise that. It's all about quality, right? You want to do the best job you can. And so the success for us comes in when we look at each other, we look at that finished book and we look at it sitting on the shelf, and we looked at everybody from our distributors to our production line, to the design, to the marketing. We can look each other in the face and said, we're proud of it because this is the best we could do. That's the championship.
And also in the business world, is another thing is a little bit different than the basketball is you actually can pick your own teammates, right?
That's true. That's true. I really like that a lot. I like that a lot. It was hard in basketball because, you know, sometimes you have guys that don't want to do the extra work, and then it becomes frustrating. You have to figure out, okay, how do you motivate them? How do you, what do you do? But here, like, you surround yourself with people that have the same level of passion that you do, you know, for what it is that they do, you know, and you just go out and find them. And, you know, they're hard to find, but, you know, I quickly realized that a lot of them are in situations that are frustrating because they're not surrounded by people that are committed or as focused about things like they are. And so this is a home for them.
You know, Kobe, I feel like right now you're at this moment that you surround the people just want as much as you, and then they want to do the same thing with you, and then you're going the goal that you set for yourself and then for everybody. But for us, for the fans and whatever, the people see you, that they can see that the things you reach, that the things we wanted, maybe one day we want to reach. Could be after read this book, you want people to know you better or know themselves better.
Always themselves. And like, so, and when it came time to do a book, you know, the common thing to do is let's do a book. People can get to know you better, get to know your story better, get to know. I'm like, why would I do that? What does that do for them? It does nothing for them. It just gives them what, information? What does that do? Right? I don't like that. I want to create things that are going to challenge the reader, challenge the listener.
You challenge.
Yeah, because there has to be a reason for these things to exist, other than, oh, just get to know me more. What is that? That doesn't mean anything, right? So we try to create every single product to be something that the viewer, the reader, the listener is going to look internally at themselves and help themselves be better. I mean, that's always the key.
A lot of people ask you why you become a storyteller. I guess you get that question a lot.
Yeah.
But what kind of story that you want to tell, and how do you decide what is the good one to really let people know?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Well, storytelling for me started back when I was a junior in high school. I had a great teacher at Lower Marion who taught us speaking arts and taught us the art of putting together a story structure and everything. And I fell in love with it then. And from my early days in the NBA, I always wrote. So I wrote a lot of my Nike campaigns, a lot of these other campaigns that I've written. And so I always had a good time doing that. So I loved it. And so when my last year, people would come up to me and say, okay, what are you going to do when you retire? I just got tired of saying I'm going to be a storyteller, because everybody was like, what does that even mean? What is that? What are you going to do? I said, well, actually, like, you know, the Dear Basketball letter that I wrote, I'm going to turn that into an animated short film. And they're like, animated short film? Like, yeah. And they're like, okay, yeah, that's great. Like, all right, well.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, so I just, you know, so after a while, like, what are you going to do when you retire? I said, you know, I'm just going to play golf. Really, I mean, no. But if I told you, you wouldn't know anyway, so it's fine. You know, and I just love everything about story, because storytelling moves the world. Whether it's to become a great scientist, a great teacher, a great writer, a great basketball player, there's a story somewhere that inspires you, right? Whether it's inspiration or whether it's information.
Yes. Writing
moves the world. And so that's why I'm really passionate about it.
I saw those pictures on your wall.
Yeah.
KJ Rowling.
Yeah.
Walt Disney.
Yeah. All storytellers.
All storyteller.
All storytellers.
Michael Jackson, Oprah, and Steve Jobs.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember all those. Yep. But yes, and then that's, for me, it's like such amazing that you really want to, you know, share your story. And also, what is the further step? Like, do you want to focus on somebody else's story besides just Kobe Bryant?
Well, what we do is we create all our stories in-house. So what you'll see A lot of the stories, like the first 5 novels that we have coming out, are all characters that I created, were characters that came from my imagination. In a world that I've created during my last year of playing, built this whole universe of sports and magic. And so you see the stories all come from that one world.
Okay.
So
if you people, because we all like the content creator.
Yeah.
Because I there's one thing I don't really want to hear from my boss is your story is boring.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
But in this industry, it's like you have to be creative, you have to be fun to grab all the attention to watch you. Is that bother you too? It's like you really.
What we try to do is we try to just work from a place of truth, right? And so what we say is, don't worry about people loving your story. Focus on not even if you like your story. Focus on the fact of, does this story move you? Is this coming from a truth within yourself? That is the only thing that matters, because if it comes from a place that's true to you, it will inevitably connect with somebody else, right? And so we always just focus on that.
Kobe, I read there's a sentence yesterday. They said, the people who tells the story rules the world. So yeah, you always rule the world. So I guess you just keep doing what you do, right?
Well, we love what we do. We absolutely enjoy it. And, seeing the reactions that we get from children and parents when they listen to some of our stories or they read some of our stories makes it worthwhile.
Kobe, the last question, because, Tencent actually take charge of the Chinese version of a member mentality, and also my boss Wei Huang, who always criticizes my story. Translate that the book. How do you feel about? What do you think of the deep cooperation with Tencent?
I think it's brilliant. Maybe I may be a little biased, but basketball is such a great teacher of life for kids. Right? Because the things that we want our children to learn as parents, things like unselfishness, things like discipline, things like focus, things like compassion, empathy, things that you can't learn in a classroom, which is like working with a team, working with a community. Those things are there in basketball. And so the more we can do to raise awareness for the game and to show that it's bigger than just winning and losing, it's bigger than just championships. But there are other lessons that are really important for our children to learn, to grow up, to become great women and men of our society. I'm all for it. So I love the partnership. I'm very thankful for it. And I'm sure this is just the beginning.
Not only the children, me as, adults, I still learn a lot from you.
Oh, thank you.
I still keep learning from you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You got it.